Hey, Vincent, how are you, man?
Doing good, brother.
All righty,
You
righty,
hear me
righty.
okay? Everything's good. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Good.
good. Everything sounds really good, and we're give the folks a minute to switch over to the stage from the networking, and yeah,
Good.
all excited about tonight and all the information you plan to share about the metaverse and
Mhm.
NFTs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But first, before I'll let you introduce yourself, I'll tell the audience a little bit about the Startup on the Blocks event.
Mhm.
And we do this, host this event every Thursday night,
Mhm.
and we are offering uh, founders and people out in the startup ecosystem opportunity to network with each other and learn about stuff. And tonight I got a chance to chat with a few people, and I noticed uh, uh, Jerome Brown. He's a banker, a regional banker, and he was
Yeah.
on there tonight, and he's very interested in what we're doing with the Startup on the Blocks program. And so it's just a great opportunity to connect and do a little sharing and mentoring, and et cetera.
Okay.
And then now we come to the second hour, and we get to meet people like you and learn, get gain some new knowledge that we can kind of use to grow and prosper, in the startup ecosystem. And
Mhm.
so, if you would, Benson, go ahead and introduce yourself, and you can also mention how we met and everything, and move forward.
Cool, cool. Well, my name is Vincent Hunt. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like to say that I'm a serial entrepreneur because I've never really figured out what a serial entrepreneur is. But I've been an entrepreneur pretty much I started when I was a kid, just like many entrepreneurs do. I started off, doing odd jobs around the neighborhood, whether it be cutting grass or washing cars, selling candy at school. So I've always
Mhm.
known I was going to be an entrepreneur. As I matured and I actually got into life, I was in the military 91 through 95. I actually went to military intelligence because I wanted to get around computers because I knew that whatever I was going to do was going to involve computers. I'm super creative. No shame in that. Like I am super, super, super creative. I've always been creative. One of my superpowers is creative confidence. I started one of the very first web design and development studios in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I'm originally from. And this was back about 25 years ago, Studio Verso. Since then, I've gone on and kind of grown through the design and innovation creativity ranks. I've done a lot of consulting and design innovation, corporate creativity, corporate innovation. And I've started many different companies, many different ventures, and all of them are in the vein again of creativity,
Wow. Okay.
innovation, and design. Yeah. I got to Florida where I'm at now about 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. I started a company called Kind Intelligence, which was the platform for a platform called Menulist that I had designed in the summer of 2009 and then moved it into 2010 and then ultimately launched the platform here. We raised about $1.5 million for the platform, died in the marketplace within about a year, which left
Oh
me in a
no.
situation. Yeah, it was fast, it was high speed, low drag, and put me in a situation trying to figure out what I wanted to do in Tallahassee now that I'm here. And I actually started a company called Massive Corp. And Massive Corp was basically just a holding company. And I really just kind of listened to, again, the ecosystem of Tallahassee and
Okay.
trying to figure out what it needed. And I actually started a company called Creators Camp for kids, because what I found was there was very little early intervention, helping young people understand their talents, gifts, abilities, and how that maps to the marketplace. Because what we traditionally have is kids doing reverse engineering on jobs that make the most money, right?
Okay.
Whether they like it or not, right? I'm gonna be
Gotcha.
a doctor because the doctor makes money, or I'm gonna be an engineer.
Okay.
And so in that, built up Creators Camp under the massive corporation umbrella, turned into a 501c3, shipped it off to Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm still here. Now I'm the founder of Better Design Company, which is basically a brand identity and web design company. And I also own a co-founder in Forever Creative Company. We specialize in XR, VR, MR, AR technology, as well as what we call VRE, or virtual real estate NFTs,
Oh,
and we
wow. Okay.
combine all of that. And so in that, it's a very, very innovative model. We're learning as we go. It's very, very intense. There's tons of learning, tons of things that are going on in the space. So I'm really anxious to talk about that tonight. But where you and I met, Lloyd, we met in Synapse, Florida, right? Just
Yeah.
here a couple of weeks ago, man.
Oh, a
And
week ago. That was last Thursday,
it
man.
was last Thursday. You see what I'm saying? Time is like I'm in a time capsule around here. So just last week we were in the Thursday, so we were in
Yeah. Yeah.
the solid 1 week ago. We were in the mix, really trying to figure out some of the dynamics of the ecosystem here in Tallahassee and how we can improve on that and build on that. So that was a huge blessing for me, because I was able to meet some really, really strong thought leaders in the community, connect with them, and hear some of the needs that they have and what we could do to actually make things better in the city. So I appreciate you having me on here tonight, man, and having these conversations. I think they're important.
Oh, yeah. And I think that meeting last week, I guess it was sponsored by Synapse, Florida,
Yeah.
and so they're trying to connect all the ecosystem
Yeah.
builders throughout Florida. And
Yeah.
so how do you get connected to them, Vincent?
Well, that's just it. When I came to Tallahassee,
Hmm.
from the Midwest, it was interesting because there was a lot of, and what really kept me here, to be honest with you, like I said, our company, we died in the marketplace relatively quick.
Hmm.
What happens in technology, so I'm used to that. I'm used to the volatility that happens in tech. But what I also noticed about Tallahassee and what made it unique is you really
Hmm.
have kind of like these pillars. You have education, huge on education. You've got
Yes, for sure.
major schools here. You got FAMU, you got FSU. Then you got the community college, TCC, all of them strong.
Yes.
We have a big, big focus on education. Another one of the pillars that's here in Tallahassee is healthcare.
Okay.
Really, really big on healthcare, right? So you have a huge healthcare footprint. And the third pillar that you have here, of course, is government, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We're in the capital, so that just makes sense. So you have government, education, healthcare. But what was bubbling up back in 2010 was this idea around entrepreneurship and creativity, which is
Okay.
my wheelhouse, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
because that's my wheelhouse, I said, okay, so what kind of value can I bring here? Long story short, I'm responsible for initiatives like Dumby Station, which was the very first
Okay.
incubator right here in Tallahassee. I knew it was something that we needed. I had seen it in other markets. I said, we need an incubator. If we're
Yeah.
going to have startups, we're going to have this conversation around entrepreneurship, we need incubation. The university jumped on board, and you saw things coming out, definitely in the space of innovation. There's an innovation hub at FSU Lab
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
which is really cool, which is being ran by Ken Baldoff. Then you've got entrepreneurship programs, scattered throughout the city under the Jim Moran Institute. Super, super dope environment as it pertains to the nurturing and the cultivation of entrepreneurship. But it's also, those are good seeds for an ecosystem. So
Yes.
the way that I got connected was through Scott Baylaw, because he knew, the work that I've done in the city, the
Yes.
different things that I've done, and the ways that I've contributed. And I'm a facilitator. I also do a lot of master facilitation with Thurgood Marshall College Fund. So we do programs like Cartier, Louis Vuitton. We got Chevron coming up, Apple, John Deere. So in that, he was like, why don't you come and facilitate this event where you're going to have all these thought leaders? How can you pull the best information out of them so we can be better as a city? So I threw my hand up and I said, let's go do it. So
Okay.
that's how I
Yeah.
got there on Thursday.
Yeah, you did a good job on that facilitation. So,
Appreciate that.
yeah, tell me a little bit about the innovation hub at Florida State.
Yeah, so the Innovation Hub at Florida State University, what you have is a center that is state of the art, beautiful. That has everything from 3D printing. It has some of the top of the class, best in class technologies out there for students to really put their hands on. Coming up with really big ideas. They have a whole track on design thinking. Again, Ken Baldoff runs that,
Hmm.
and very very integral as it pertains to really helping students wrap their mind around that component of entrepreneurship, which is the ideation, coming up with new ideas, how to innovate, how to really build the creative confidence that you need in the marketplace to do extraordinary things. And so I think as it pertains to its contribution to the ecosystem, I think it's huge because you have a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
kids come through there and they get to touch this stuff and, really, really wrap their arms around it.
Yes, I talked to our local university about doing a AI type innovation,
Oh, you should.
innovation lab and stuff, and so I couldn't convince them to do it. So my wife and I we decided to start working on it ourselves, and so that's
Mhm.
when we call our thing the Center for the Innovation Workforce, and we have these innovation labs, and we've been doing it virtually, allowing the people in the workforce and startups actually use the tools for up to use of AI tools and the VR tools and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but
Okay.
yeah, we're hoping to build that up here, and so we have like a STEM component of it, but we also have a workforce component of it. Now, Domi, you mentioned Domi Station. I think I got a chance to visit there, but that was that's actually kind of like in between FAMU and FSU.
Yeah, strategically positioned in between FAMU and FSU.
Hmm.
It's right there in the art district.
Yeah,
Makes really good sense for it to be there.
yes,
It's an extraordinary place where, again, early stage startups can go and kind of get the foundation that they need to actually build their companies.
yeah.
A lot of nuts and bolts stuff happens in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just, understanding, business concepts, principles, workshops, things like that to get people engaged.
Yeah, yeah,
And so,
and I
yeah.
yeah, and so whereas that was some older building type real estate there, if I remember right, because
Mhm.
I visited there, and it just using what you have and to move things forward, yeah, and so that's pretty neat. Now, I didn't really know Tallahassee Community College had an innovation center, and so what's that all about, and what stage is it's actually at right now?
You know what? To be honest, the Innovation Center is an oddity
Hmm.
in the ecosystem because it could, up until this point, it hasn't really been able, quite honestly, it hasn't been able to really gain the traction that it
Yes,
needs.
yes. Hmm.
I think because there are so many resources in the city already that people know about. Then you have this building that sits in the center of the city, downtown Clayman Plaza. So it's kind of outside of the loop of the normal footprint of a FSU FAMU student. Then at the
Yes,
exact
yes.
same time, it was once a museum. So I
Yeah,
think there's just a lot of misinterpretation of people just don't know what it is. And so
yeah.
in that, you have all of this space, you have tons of space. It's a beautiful building. You have any up there, which is the Institute for Nonprofit Innovation, right?
Hmm. Okay.
That's in that building. But at the exact same time, I don't think that it's ever really gotten the legs that it needs to really stand
Yeah,
up and erect itself as a true force in the community, which is unfortunate and it will in its own time. But I just think that it's again, it's an oddity in the ecosystem in the sense that it
yes.
hasn't really gained an
Well,
identity.
and I think it's to me, it's actually an opportunity for somebody to really get creative and figure out how to use that space, with the innovation idea, and so I think that definitely is an opportunity there. And
Mhm.
just before I left Tallahassee last Thursday,
Mhm.
I met a gentleman. I'm trying to think of his name, but they were in the process of building some innovation labs with a lot. It was going to be more like a bunch of high tech labs and also a co-working facility that people could use. So that was sounds like a pretty ambitious thing to have there, but that sounds like it's really, if you really want to do innovation, you need to have the labs and just like you say at the Innovation Hub with the 3D printing and whatever other technologies they have there, that would be good. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I think the last thing I would mention, about that meeting over there last week, it appears, that it's definitely good to connect and kind of people, so people can know what's going on. But I think with I think the innovation hub stuff, I think Congress is, getting ready to appropriate some money for that kind of stuff to kind of help with the underserved community. So I think that's good. And I just heard today from Dr. Marcus McBride that in the career source of workforce stuff is that their DEO is getting ready to release some funding opportunities to support early stage STEM type stuff and creative stuff to kind of help build the workforce of the future. And so that's pretty exciting as well.
I think one of the things to like note, because you'll find that for me, when I start to talk about, creativity, innovation, where we are as it pertains to entrepreneurship, the climate that we're in as a
Yeah.
whole, right? I think that, like, so if I think about entrepreneurship let's say 2010 to 2015, it's fundamentally different than it is 2016 to now.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2010 to 2015, I may be off a couple years, maybe 16, 17, but
Okay.
in that window, you had a lot of novel ideas coming to the table.
Okay.
You had a lot of novel ideas, and this is where I get down to the brass tacks of entrepreneurship. You had a lot of novel ideas. You could say, I'm going to make the cat network, right, where people
Mm-hmm.
can actually social network over cats, right, and
Okay.
actually raise up money for that.
Yeah.
Novel idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're past that now. So now what we're really looking for when we think about the speed of innovation, and this is just me saying what we actually need in a greater context of things,
Okay.
right? As technology advances, you definitely need a deeper concentration on your space, AI, machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two big ones. Then you've also got, when we start thinking about new models for industry, how we're building things,
Mm-hmm.
that's becoming deeply important. Smart factories, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
New processes, and I'm talking about at very, very high levels. I think that we're past the novel stage,
Yes.
and we're getting a little bit more mature as it pertains to the ideas that we need to be coming up with and the solutions that we're providing,
Yes.
because there is a saturation of novelty in the marketplace, and we're trying to get down to the real deal stuff. This is why at Forever Creative, while we're still doing creative work in our undercurrent, you have the conversation around decentralization, NFT technology, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
back for VRE, virtual real estate. These things are building blocks or foundational technologies that we all need to be thinking about and standing on to build the next generation companies.
Yes. All right. And yeah. So tell us about this new venture you're working on, and as I'll just let you talk about it. But if I have a question, I'll pop back in. But yeah. So just give us a background that how you what started you on this journey with your new company here, and it's to me it sounds really exciting. So kind of give us the background on that.
Well, the way that we got here, like, so for me, probably about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I started doing a lot of research on NFT technology. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. I'm sure you guys have heard of non-fungible tokens. If people haven't, we can dive deeper into that. But basically, non-fungible tokens are things in the earth that cannot be replicated. So, for instance, there's only one Vincent Hunt. You can't take Vincent Hunt and trade me for a Lloyd and have an equal trade, right? Lloyd got more chops than Vince, more experience than Vince, so you can't trade Vince for Lloyd, right? There's only one Vince, so I'm non-fungible. There's only one of me, right? Non-fungible tokens, what makes them really powerful, though, is not only their uniqueness or their inability to be divided or divisible. It's the smart contract that sits up under the non-fungible token that actually makes it powerful, right? So for the very first time, what we're seeing is creatives have this ability to handle their creative endeavors in a completely different financial way. In other words, I can create a piece of digital art, I can create a logo, I can create things and make them as NFTs, attach smart contracts on them, which now in turn allows me to write royalties into that actual digital asset or any asset that I'm creating, right? So that's a very, very powerful and provocative thing for me because I think that it's the cornerstone to the promise of the creative economy. So there's that. So as I began to do research on that, I had to challenge myself and ask the question, what kind of NFTs would I collect? What kind of NFTs would I want to own? What would I actually purchase as NFTs? And that's when I started getting like insights around virtual real estate because now what you can do is you can actually take world coordinates, right? Coordinates that are in the earth, mint those to the blockchain, aka make them an NFT and purchase and own those. Then the question then becomes, why would you do that? You would do that because as we start to now venture off into spatial web, and when I say spatial web, web that is independent of the laptop, independent of the iPads and the iPhones and Android devices, but now the web all around us. So when you think about virtual real estate, it's basically the digital real estate where VR, AR, MR, XR experiences live. So it's the new domain. So if I can own the physical domains in different places that make sense, I can deploy experiences there that can inform people, connect people, give them greater insights, more details about, geographic locations. So to me, that's very, very powerful. So I went down that path. In March, my co-founder, we paired up, invested at this point, we're in at about $120,000 over the last 3 or 4 months, investing in and purchasing VRE, right? Virtual real estate. So once we started getting deep in that, we started thinking, okay, what is the true mission here though? Because while we talk about MR, VR, XR, MR, all these technologies, while we talk about them, to the general population, they are not things that people talk about or even indulge in all the time. So I think the bigger effort for us at this point is what we call ourselves is a metaverse acceleration company in the sense that we accelerate metaverse technologies into the earth and the advancement of those technologies. And we think it's important because again, as we continue to evolve and grow, share information and connect, using the space around us, I think becomes deeply important. And it's something that we should all be in pursuit of. So Forever Creative sits on the backbone of that tenet of that mission, which is to accelerate the adoption and advancement of metaverse technologies. And so we have conversations, we have projects around doing that. We have Extraordinary Earth, where we have world anchored experiences that people can connect to. We've got a whole IP set called Kensho and Epic, which are two characters that'll live in the physical world around us, but in the metaverse. So you'll see them in AR, but playing out like real world scale cartoons. Is going to be super, super dope. We've got Augmented Cities Project. The Augmented Cities Project is a civic engagement project where we're working with cities to help them understand how to leverage these technologies. So deeply involved, a whole bunch of weaving. It's probably best that I just shut up because I can go on and on and on about this. It's probably best that I get questions about it. People can kind of unpack it. Yeah. Because again, it's just so much, right? And it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but you were telling me a little bit earlier today, how that metaverse idea, how it integrates things together. So could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so when you think about the metaverse, I think when you talk about the metaverse, people think about the movie Ready Player One, right, where we actually saw the metaverse, right? But the metaverse, the easiest way to kind of think about the metaverse is you think about the very first part of it, meta. So it's the digital universe that surrounds us, right? So the metaverse actually includes things that we already use: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All these things are part of the metaverse. Those are lean pieces of it because it really, really gets interesting when you start talking about VR. Because when you think about VR, we can go into spaces and places in VR and connect with each other and primarily XR, which is extended reality, where we can now actually do work together. So if you think about the first layer of VR that came out, right? There's roller coaster simulations, or I can go visit the mountains, or I can go in the woods and actually have the woods all around me, right? All of that is cool, and people can like be talking to me, and I can feel like the person is sitting right there with me, right? That's VR. Where it gets dope is when you start talking about XR. XR is where we can have whiteboards, and you and I, Lloyd, can actually work on the same whiteboard together in VR.
Okay.
Right? We can
That sounds good.
exchange files, right? We can exchange files in VR as if we're in the same room at the same time. Our avatars have the ability to connect, communicate with each other as if we're actually there. That's XR. Now that takes us a little bit deeper. You think about platforms like Decentraland, right? Decentraland again is a metaverse where you have an avatar, you go in, you connect with people, build things, have brand experiences, and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's another version of it. But all in all, the metaverse is this ecosystem of technologies that allow us to connect outside of the real world, the physical world that we're
Okay.
used to. So that's where the metaverse comes in. Why do I think it's important that we start thinking about this? Think 2020. Think when everybody's confined or you're limited to the human interactions that you can have, but you can augment those interactions now if you start to leverage the metaverse. We can still
Okay.
meet, we can still connect. Another bigger play on that is think about the collaborations that we can have all around the world in a deeper, more intimate way, right?
Okay.
So being able to break down and blur the lines in between the real world and the metaverse, I think is super, super important because it gives us new ways to communicate, which then in turn accelerates innovation and everything else that we do to be great, to be human beings.
Yeah. So where does your company fit into this part of the ecosystem or business? Are you offering services to companies, or just kind of tell us where your company fits in?
Where our company sits in, we sit in a few different layers. The very first layer, if you think about Forever Creative Studios is where we make stuff, right?
Okay. Okay.
Brands can come to us and they can say, oh my God, we have this idea to use AR technology. What
Hmm.
we want to do is when you come into our restaurant, we want to be able to, instead of you scanning a barcode, we want you to be able to open up your phone and be able to see the menu floating in front of you.
Okay.
Right? So we can augment spaces. We can do tons of different stuff with AR. We can create whole experiences in XR, in other words, VR with interaction. We can
Hmm.
create that for brands and companies and champion them into that. I think the interesting piece that we have or that we focus on, because remember, all of this started in NFTs.
Okay.
So being able to integrate NFT technology into that whole paradigm makes sense. A good example of this would be, and I was just talking to one of my colleagues today. So she's in Wilmington, and in Wilmington, North Carolina, there where she's at, what we're putting together there under our Augmented Cities project
Okay.
is a week where you can actually go and see augmented reality murals on the sides of buildings, on streets, on bridges, everywhere. No paint is needed. We can do
Okay.
all of this digitally, and you can see this whole exhibit throughout the city in augmented reality.
Gotcha.
NFTs come in because these are artists. You can actually buy the murals, the big digital artwork that you'll see on the side of these buildings and on streets and on bridges. You can buy them as NFTs, which now means you actually own the digital asset, the NFT of that artwork.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And connected to that, there could be utilities. It can unlock different things in the city, so on and so forth. But now, from an economic standpoint, that adds value to the city because some of the proceeds from those sales can go back to restoration and those different kinds of initiatives that they may have in the city.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that's one level. That's Forever Creative Studios.
Okay.
Then we also have a whole platform that's called Extraordinary Earth, where this is where we start talking about virtual real estate,
Okay.
acquisition, and activation. So to give you a good example of this, we actually own the Hyperion tree in the Redwoods. We own the geographic location of the Hyperion tree in the Redwoods. So if you can imagine, what we're going to do is build an NFT series around this tree give them information about the tree, augmented reality components around this tree. You'll be able to buy an NFT that allows you to actually like place this tree in your yard and actually see its beauty and its glory in your backyard, right?
Okay, so let's back up a minute here. So you're saying you this is all based on a geolocation,
Mhm.
and you can create a NFT of that,
Mhm.
or a piece of NFT or a piece of real estate or something, and then now that's a so let me try to kind of also back. So let's say we were at the Tallahassee Community College Innovation Center last week, and so that's a physical building, or and it's at a certain geolocation. Are you saying the idea is this virtual real estate is to start buying up these geolocations?
See, and what's really funny about that, we actually own the virtual real estate that actually encompasses the Innovation Center in Tallahassee.
Explain that one to me.
Okay, so if you this it gets super confusing, but it's I'm gonna try to put this simple as possible. So if
Yeah.
you think about any physical location,
Yes.
think about where, like, how many people we got in the audience? 16? How many people? 15,
Yeah.
16?
Plus the folks on Facebook. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so if you can imagine wherever you're located right now, it is a geographic like coordinate.
Yes, I definitely got that.
Okay. Imagine the world being divided into 64 billion squares.
Hmm.
Imagine each square in itself being an NFT.
Okay. Gotcha.
If I buy a square, a coordinate, it's a digital canvas or a digital layer that's sitting over a physical thing.
Hmm.
I think everybody understands how websites work. You have a website and you serve that website to a server at Amazon, Google,
Hmm.
somewhere, GoDaddy.
Okay.
Where AR experiences live, augmented reality experiences, they live in geographic locations.
Yes, I agree with that.
So look at that square as a server. If I own the square, I can load into that square any kind of augmented reality experience I want.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you're literally, so I'm trying to think. So that's within your platform that you created is what you're saying?
No. So there's platforms where you actually buy virtual real estate.
Okay.
Two of the major platforms that you would buy virtual real estate in that we play in, one is called OVR,
Okay.
OVR.ai.
Okay.
I love that platform. The reason why I love that platform is because the actual virtual real estate are smaller hexagons. They're less expensive. They're a little bit more agile. The user experience to them is great. It's beautiful. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
The other platform that you would buy virtual real estate in is Superworld. So in Superworld, the plots are much bigger and plots sell for about zero point 0.1 ETH. They
Okay.
have a set rate of zero point 0.1 ETH. So when we first started buying virtual real estate, we were getting virtual real estate for probably about $125, $150 per plot.
Okay.
Because at that time, ETH was sitting at about 1,250, 1,500. When ETH started growing up, guess what else started going up? The price of the actual virtual real estate, because it's always set at zero point 0.1 ETH. So no matter what the price is of Ethereum on the
Mm-hmm.
blockchain, that's going to be the price for that piece of land. So we ended up paying anywhere between 275 all the way up to $450 per plot when
Okay.
ETH started to like skyrocket. Then it fell back down, but there was a moment where we were purchasing at about $450 per plot.
Okay.
Right now, we own probably about 60 plots of Superworld real estate, and we own probably about 300, 370, 380 plots of over virtual real estate. For instance, if you think about like Tampa, think
Okay.
about Ybor City.
Okay.
We own all the virtual real estate that covers Ybor City.
So, and when you said you're we own the the Tallahassee Community Center, location. So, in which platform were you in when you said that?
And there we own Clayman Plaza, the Discover Challenger Center. We own the Innovation Center, which gives us also all that. All of that is purchased in Superworld, is where we actually
Oh,
own.
Super World. Okay, gotcha.
We own that in Superworld. Now we also own the Art District on Railroad.
Okay,
We
gotcha.
purchased all of that in Over. So now what that gives us the power to do is we can actually serve into those spaces, augmented
Okay.
reality experiences. So okay, here's an easy way to look at it. It don't snow in Tallahassee, does it?
No, 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 not
Okay.
not too often.
No. So I could easily go create an entire snow scene on Clayman Plaza and have Christmas or Christmas on Clayman Plaza. I could have big Santa Clauses and reindeers. I could create a complete snow environment that you see in augmented reality. And I put that scene on the virtual real estate that we own.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
You see?
Yes. Yeah.
But
So,
then there's other commercial applications for it, right? If you think
okay.
about like when session is in, I can put up signs, information, context, anything that anybody can, using their phone, look at all this information that's around them in the spatial web.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you indulging me a little bit on
Yeah, yeah. The
that.
thing about it is, there was a moment where I was fanatical about people purchasing and owning virtual real
Hmm.
estate. It almost goes back to the old days where we used to buy domain names.
Hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, because we're going into physical locations, you can own the virtual real estate. It's the same thing,
So yeah,
right?
and I appreciate you giving that analogy, and
Yeah,
because I think people understand buying the domain names and then being able to sell them later, and you own that domain name, and yeah, and so yeah, so that virtual real estate, um, so that sounds so you are you just like you said, art, um, create art, and this can be in
yeah,
NFT, but are you also saying that the virtual real estate is NFT as well?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
The virtual real estate is an NFT.
Hmm.
The virtual real estate, the plot is an NFT. It's a non-fungible token. So once you own it
Hmm.
on the blockchain, you own it.
Okay.
And once you own it, you actually like so for okay, Snapchat. Here's a perfect example of this. Snapchat with their geo filters. Like if you go to a game, now all of a sudden you can put on like a hat or something to throw up the little like cheering thing, like in Snapchat.
Yeah.
All of that content is being placed in a geographic location,
Okay.
right? Now, when you do that with Snapchat, you have to pay Snapchat to put your content in that geographic location. It's like you got to rent it.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
so imagine now you have that same power that a Snapchat would have, but for everything else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I
So,
could put whole games inside of virtual real estate. Like if
okay.
you think about
Gotcha.
Pokemon Go,
Yeah, I
that
remember
was a
that.
perfect example of it, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Lord Junior, was there a question out on Facebook or something?
There's a question by Quinn Bro, and you actually kind of answered it in a little way, but I think you can also dive a little deeper because he wants to know if a VR experience, what it looks like on a business standpoint. Is it similar to like renting or leasing real estate? Is it a similar thing? You kind of were touching on it a little bit, but I'm familiar with Pokemon Go and Snapchat and the geo filters. Is that something you can actually rent or lease or like have businesses use as a platform for advertisement?
Exactly. Exact. And that's the perfect like business application of it, right? So while we can talk about entertainment, connectivity, engagement solutions, there's also the business side of it, right? It's the business side of it. Like let's just say, and this could go across like anything, right? Let's just say, okay, we own, if you think about FSU, you guys have been to an FSU football game? Okay, you think about at FSU, you go into the stadium, you have the big visitor center, but in the front, you have the greenway. And in the greenway is where everybody does like tailgating and stuff like that, right? Because we own that space, it would be easy for us to do a deal with Nike to say, why don't we float a big Nike symbol right here and put some hoops and stuff all in the greenway, all in augmented reality. That's a perfect business application, right? And we can. You just rent that space. So again, virtual real estate, once you start to unpack it and dig into it, there's tons of ways to monetize inside that virtual real estate. One of the most seamless ways to do it is to do it through NFTs, right?
Okay.
So if I've got the virtual real estate, I can actually put an NFT, like let's just say, here's a good example. Let's just say that you have a museum, but you own the virtual real estate that covers the museum.
Okay.
And you do a virtual or you do an augmented reality art show. In other words, you walk through and you can actually see different art in augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
You can click and purchase any of that art in augmented reality as an NFT. And every time a transaction is made on that piece of land, you make a cut of that money.
Okay.
So that's another way. There's tons of different ways. And so at Forever Creative, we work with people who have interest in virtual real estate to help them, one, invest in what we call experiential value. We have what's called the experiential value index. In other words, what kind of virtual real estate should you be buying? And what are some of the ways that you can monetize that real estate? And we can also make the connections in between you and those who want to actually advertise, do deployments on your real estate or whatnot. So yeah, it's a whole emerging space.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, that sounds really, really, really neat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our portfolio is huge at this point. At Forever Creative, we own everything from, we own the headquarters at NPR.
Okay. Okay.
We own the headquarters. We own Indiana University's football stadium, Purdue University's football stadium, start and finish line at the Indy 500 track. We own tons of interesting locations for the purpose of activation.
Gotcha. So I totally get that part. And so we also talked a little bit about with 2020 and now even still 2021 with the COVID situation and working from home. And you were saying, well, why would you kind of go back to the office, and kind of tell us what you're doing in that space.
Okay. So in that space, that falls up under Forever Creative Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing with that is helping businesses understand the decentralization and the remote work that can happen within VR, right?
Okay. Remote work in VR, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so for instance, if I've got, like, my whole team, we made a dedication at our team that we'd be 98% remote. Like, we don't meet in physical places. When we meet as a team and we want face-to-face interaction, we meet in VR.
Okay.
We have a whole headquarters. I wish I had grabbed some photos of this stuff, man. We have a whole headquarters inside of VR where we meet, collaborate, use whiteboards, sticky, everything that you would use in the physical world, we use it in VR, but we never have to leave our physical locations.
Gotcha,
so 9 times out of 10, I'm at home in the comforts of my house, man, in VR, meeting with my team, man, in a full headquarters environment, and it's extraordinary. We'll say that when we have an hour meeting, it's usually about 2 hours because you get immersed. Yeah, they don't want to go home. Yeah. Well, they are home. They don't want to leave VR.
Yeah. So you mentioned, like your office space, but what about, like an entertainment thing? What about going to a nightclub or what about, I don't know. Yeah. Who knows,
All that can be created. Matter of fact, you guys make sure that you guys connect with me. I'm definitely sending out an invite for next week. We're thinking either Thursday or Friday of next week. We're going to have the first 120 days of Forever, because in our mad lab of doing stuff, people are like, what are you guys doing over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you working on? What are you building? So what we've been putting together over the last month or so is what we call the first 120 days of Forever. And it's going to be an event. If you've got an Oculus, it's best that you have an Oculus or some type of VR headset where you can actually come in. We have a whole auditorium that'll be set up in VR where you can come, meet people, have conversations, just like we're having conversations right now, except it'll be your avatar, face-to-face talking with me, and we can talk, we can high-five each other, hug each other. It's going to be awesome. But we're going to talk about the things that we're working on, the different initiatives that we're putting out there. But it'll all be inside of VR, and it's going to be an extraordinary experience for anybody that hasn't experienced anything like this, because you'll see why Vincent says, why is anybody trying to go back to offices? The fact of the matter is we have the technology and the capabilities to meet and connect in deeper levels using VR and XR technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So next week in the evening.
Yeah, so like one of our startups, they're working on kind of like a virtual mall type thing, and they're getting a little traction, and so, but what I'm thinking out loud a little bit here, so this whole space, whenever you get a new space of technology, like it creates a whole new set of opportunities, and so I'm thinking, people that work in different career fields are familiar with different things. And so it's just a matter of seeing how, your real life experience could actually, how you could actually develop something to actually fit into this new technology area.
Mm-hmm. What's really, really interesting is I think about, and we talked about this earlier, when you think about how certain technologies come in and disrupt marketplaces and what we should be doing as innovators and creators to hedge ourselves against that, right? So I imagine, and this is just this is a sketch. If you have the ability to leverage what we just talked about, virtual real estate.
Okay.
And go with me on this, because this is one that we've thought about. We've actually purchased a restaurant's virtual real estate because we want to deploy some stuff like this, right? Imagine going into a restaurant one day and scanning a barcode or scanning a QR code.
Yeah.
Then in turn pops up a viewer. And in that viewer is your server, a metahuman.
Okay.
With AI built in.
Okay.
This metahuman knows everything about the restaurant, everything about the menu. Any question that you could ever ask has already been loaded into this metahuman.
Yes.
So when I'm looking at it through AR and it's standing there in front of me, right? I can ask it, like, can you place an order for so and so and so? Because it's digital, it's connected to the back of the house.
Yes.
It can say, let me take care of that for you, and not even leave your table and tell you jokes until your order has been placed and it's on its way.
Yes. Well,
So now the company that creates that gets rid of what?
The hostess and waiters. Yeah.
I would love for a server to create that. To replace themselves, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being, oh my God, they're gonna come and take our jobs. Okay, you create it. Now you got a job forever. You create the metahumans that will serve people inside of restaurants in AR. Everybody's carrying this thing around, right? So if I can look at this and just, you're there and you're doing the thing, and I can just put you down, and my food is on its way. All I need are people to run food out now at this point. I don't need servers running around, right? We're talking about a touchless environment.
Yes.
MetaHuman ain't even got to wear no mask.
Yes.
Well, there's another question that's up from Vercel, and he's asking about government involvement. Are there, in regards to taxes, also government involvement in regards to regulations? Can you speak a little bit on that?
Decentralized, brother. This is the wild, wild west right now. They're still trying to catch up with cryptocurrencies, let alone what we're doing in this. Seriously, like all of this, because it's all new technologies and new stuff. They can't keep up with the regulatory stuff that comes to kind of impose on that, right?
Yeah.
So while there's just your normal general like taxes and things like that that'll happen, if you think about when was the last time you paid a tax for an NFT, you don't, because it sits on the blockchain and you're making cryptocurrency transactions. That's the easiest way to answer that. They have not been able to keep up with that. Now, will it come at some point in time? Yeah, 20 years from now, after you done got your bags, you've already gotten rich, right? Like, so now is the swell of opportunity for you to jump in and take advantage of decentralization. That's why DeFi is so important. We start talking about decentralization of some of this stuff, right? A lot of the transactions that we do, especially in virtual real estate, is done in cryptocurrencies. So when you think about Ethereum and all these types of things, I look at the utility of a cryptocurrency versus like a Dogecoin, which is basically just a hype coin. I'm looking at the coins that actually have utility. So the Overcoin, Ethereum coin, of course, Bitcoin now starts to have utility. These utilitarian types of coins and projects are the ones I'm interested in because they all link up things and it helps us facilitate the transactions that we're making.
Yes.
So hopefully
there is one more question from Carlos,
Yeah.
and he's asking, how is your company working with artists, or how you're working with artists? Can you speak with that a little bit?
Oh my God. Like, so after next week, you're going to see us turn all the way up because all of our project stacks are there in the sense of, like, so for instance, when we think about the Augmented Cities project, one of our leads, which is Miranda Manning, she's actually in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she's going to be working with artists, a group of artists. We're thinking anywhere between 15 to 20 artists, and they're going to do one of the biggest mural installations that you've ever seen in AR. So working directly with artists, merging them into this space and bringing their artwork to life in ways that we've never seen before, which I'm hoping gets tons. I want so much press and so much love on that because not only does it edify the creative economy and the creative community, but it also forwards the technology that we're trying to forward. So yes, definitely working with artists. If you're an artist, reach out to me, give us some ideas. We're funding stuff. We're doing some really, really cool stuff because we have a big affinity for the arts.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Vincent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vincent, I think when you introduce a new area like this to folks, and I'm not saying it's that new, but to me, it's still new because it's in its infancy.
Oh, yeah. Relative, it's nascent.
Yeah, and so what I think is really neat is that people start exploring these new things, and then they figure out how they can apply them to something that they know about or they're interested in or they have some technical expertise in.
Mm-hmm.
And so but it's just that's what the ecosystem, once you get these ideas, you can actually hop into the ecosystem and say, I got this idea to do this, and then you can kind of get the help you need to move it forward. And that's what really the opportunity is. Because even you get into the ecosystem and you're non-technical but you have an idea, you kind of know how to solve a problem, but you just got to jump in there and get the help you need to kind of move it forward, and that's what the encouragement is for the audience out there. Is it's not the ecosystem is here to help you turn your idea into reality, but you have to step into it. Yeah,
you do. I think I want to super, super, super applaud you, Lloyd, and Lloyd Jr., and whoever else is on your team for doing this work, because at the seat of where we are right now, when you think about innovation, the speed of innovation, how things are happening, all the specialized skills and all the new stuff that people don't know, it's madness. It's chaos, right? What an ecosystem allows you to do is equalize or to minimize the fall off from all the chaos, right? Because you have different people, different skills, so on and so forth. So what you guys are building is extraordinarily important because it's going to give, like, for instance, you're bringing me now into your ecosystem. You're going to have people that are listening to this or they're hearing this saying, oh, wait a minute, I got an idea. Let me reach out to Vince. Vince can give you a piece of what you need, right? Lloyd can then connect you to other pieces that you need to actually bring that thing together. I think it was Nipsey Hussle. Y'all don't think I'm crazy about this. Nipsey Hussle said it. He said, where we are right now is the people that will build the new business models.
Yeah.
Forever Creative is a brand new business model. I'm not saying that just to toot my horn. We had to build everything from the ground up. What we do. Because we're using new technologies, new processes, new systems, and everything, and they don't align a lot with what's already out there. There was no solution for it, right?
Well, yeah, and that's
business model.
Yeah, and so like what I like, about where I sit in a lot of this stuff is, all the things you described, and at the state they are now, you said avatars. And so I know the computing technology is getting to the point where I was looking at some, this past weekend, they were able to scan a body and analyze the skin and everything, but they created a duplicate of the person. And yeah, and so my point is, when you get the computing power to have that scan move around and act like a real human,
you can.
And that's what the deal is. And yeah, and so my knowledge is that I know you can get that object once you create it, to mimic a human and all their physical, the way of, even the way of the human walks, the mannerisms and stuff. And so to me, I just keep seeing our opportunities and all these new ideas that people come up with.
Here's I'm gonna give this away for free.
Yes. All right, we'll take it.
I'm gonna give you this one for free, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the skill set that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could literally spring up a company right now,
mm-hmm.
and you think about industries, banking industry,
Yes.
restaurant industries, these different industries where there's a host or somebody to greet you at the door.
Yes.
You can literally create a fleet of, like, let's just say 4 or 5 metahumans.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic.
Just them as shells, like intelligence in them. Just give them the ability to mimic human movements on mouth, all of that, right?
Yeah.
But now,
mm-hmm.
the way that makes money, you simply go to, let's just say you go to any bank or you go to any restaurant and say,
mm-hmm.
what we can do is take all of your institutional knowledge and put it in this metahuman and put it at your door.
Yes.
And all you got to let people know is open up the Outback Steakhouse app and point it right here. And what you're going to see is a greeter that can answer any question for you and also put you on the list for your seat.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you gave this example. It was kind of funny. Last week I was, talking to one of my nephews, and he wanted to do a little side hustle up in DC where he started his little concierge service and hire people out to be concierge. And what you just described was a way that he could actually do that virtually.
Exactly.
And scale out through the whole United States, all over the world.
He could have an employee workforce of thousands of metahumans. And all you've got to do is get the actual institutional information for wherever you deploy them and put it inside the metahuman,
mm-hmm.
the AI, it begins to learn in time. So when somebody stands up, here's an app, this app right here will change your whole thing on this. There's an app, it's called Replica. If you listen to this, get the app, I think it's called Replica, Replika. I think the story goes that there was a scientist, she was an AI machine learning scientist, loses her husband,
mm-hmm.
literally wants to bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
She created an app that sits on your phone where you can actually create an AI avatar and begin to have conversations with it, and it learns you over time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So when you wake up in the morning, you say good morning to it, it says, good morning, Lloyd. What are you thinking about your day today? Have you thought about the ecosystem? I had a question about ecosystems. It's searching the world's information and bringing information to you and having full-blown conversations. This is happening on your iPhone. You can do this today.
Okay.
Get you a replica and start experiment with it. And what you're going to quickly see is, wait a minute, this is where we're going. If we can create augmented, because I can, if you have replica, you can actually put an AR version of your replica in this room and be talking to it. It's mind-blowing. So if we can do that, can't we create a whole workforce where now Outback Steakhouse can come to your company and say, hey, we want to get one of these and put it in the front to actually act as our hostess?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think the expertise that each one of us have, everybody has this expertise. And so, when you can build an AI replica of your expertise, then you just duplicated yourself a million times, and out there making whatever service that expertise you have, and that's what the beauty of AI is like if you can,
I love it.
yeah, do the, keep the data on how you make decisions or how you do certain processes, you can turn that data into your expertise. And I I had a conversation with a specialist, a PhD in materials science, and she told me, she said, I'm only one of about five people in the world that can identify these types of crystals and tell you where they're from. And so I was trying to get her to understand what AI was, and I said, if we show you 10, 20, 100 of these crystals, and you have a little note there and tell where each one of them is from or everything about them, and then I can take those images of those crystals and your notes and feed that to an artificial neural network, and now I can build an application and with the phone that actually takes a picture of the thing. Now it can tell you all your knowledge about the stuff. Yeah. But that's what artificial intelligence is, and everybody has some expert knowledge that they just need to learn how to actually put it into software through using AI.
And then sell that.
Yes,
and that I think that's where we're going, and that's why like a lot of people say, Vince, do you have fear of like machine learning AI? I was like, no. I said, matter of fact, I did a presentation, and in this presentation, it was really profound for me. It was cathartic in the sense that because people have an idea in their head of what the robots look like the robots coming to take our jobs. So I had a series of slides. I think it was like maybe 5-10 slides. On each slide, on the first slide, I remember it was a true like shown of humanoid robot. Mm-hmm. And I asked everybody in the room, there's probably about 70 people in the room. I said, by the show of hands, how many people think that this is a robot? Raise your hand. Mm-hmm. All of them. I showed them an R2-D2 from Star Wars. Who thinks this is a robot? Raise your hand. Mm-hmm. I showed them another robot, one of those robot arms that be in a factory. Who thinks this is a robot? Raise your hand. I showed them a self-checkout machine that you see at like Walmart. Mm-hmm. So how many people think this is a robot? 1 or 2 hands. Mm-hmm. I showed them one of those kiosks that you find inside the McDonald's. Mm-hmm. How many thinks that this is a robot? 1 or 2 hands. I said, everything that I've shown you is a robot. Mm-hmm. That self-checkout is a robot. Mm-hmm. It's replacing the mundane actions of a human being.
Yeah.
That kiosk that you see in McDonald's is a robot. It's replacing that person. You should say, welcome to McDonald's. How can I take your order?
Yeah.
So not the machines are going to take our jobs. The machines are already taking our jobs. What we have to do is figure out what is our role in this ecosystem, and what is that ecosystem of work.
Yeah, and so like the 60 Minutes story on Amazon with the robot, they said that by them introducing the robots, they've actually created way more jobs than before the robots came. And so, but you do have to figure out what your new role is going to be.
Because you're not going to be doing the mundane thing no more.
Yeah.
The robot can do that, and they can do it with efficiency and quickness, and they never get sick.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think we've covered a lot, and Vincent, you really open up our eyes, and I guess this is the last opportunity to ask any questions because we're at time. So if you have any questions, yeah. So let's see here. I think we're probably good. Vincent, I think I think you've opened up a lot of eyes, and plus you kind of gave us an idea too how this new realm and opportunity they're in, and so that's the startup world, folks. You figure out how to do things, and you automate things, and then the ecosystem will help you. I sent out the email yesterday with a lot of the links for for founders and a lot of the things to kind of connect. And so, what I want people to understand, those links are real opportunities for money, to grow your startup. And if you don't click on them, you don't get a chance to take advantage of the opportunity. So so it's just really dramatic. So like Vincent, I don't know if you're aware, Morgan Stanley, every year they have a cohort, for like Black and Latino founders, where they automatically do like a $250,000 investment in your company. But and I noticed some of those companies also participated in the $2 million pitch competition last year. So they literally got all this training and all this money before the $2 million pitch competition came about. And so they were ready to go to answer any questions the judges had, because all of that training that they got in the ecosystem. But you have to start in there. And I'm just encouraging people, to stop sitting on their ideas and start taking advantage of some of the resources that are out there to help them move forward. Thanks a million, Vincent. You did a great job, and it was awesome. And I'm going to probably be reviewing this video at least 5 or 6 times so I can.
Most definitely, if you need anything, if you have any like spot on questions. Yeah, we do have a Discord to Forever if you want to become a part of that Discord, because everybody in there is having that conversation. We got some of the brightest minds in the world, because we built an ecosystem around our company to actually support thought leadership. So you have some of the brightest minds in there working together to, champion and push our mission forward.
Yeah, so like somebody like me, since my thing is the computing thing, so I would come in there and say what computing challenges you're having. And help you figure out how to get past those computing challenges, because I've been thinking like this, since the 90s, and so I see people trying to do stuff, and they said the computer is too slow. I said, you know how to turn that algorithm into a piece of AI, and all of a sudden you speed it up 100-fold. But the people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm saying, This is what your dilemma is. You have to kind of think what's causing this problem. Don't just be sitting there, waiting for something to process. It's what algorithm is driving that. Let's see, can we speed that thing up?
My man, that's what I'm saying.
All
so I'm gonna drop you a link to our Discord, man, because I would love to have you in there. Anybody else that wants to get in there, just hit me up. I'll drop them in there and just tell me what you want to bring to the table, and we can get busy.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Definitely connect with us, and we want to thank all of our sponsors for supporting Startup on the Blocks. We got Bantucola and his media company out there streaming for us on Facebook. We got people like Pat Rooney out there, spreading the word about what we're doing. We got the both chambers involved in what we're doing. We got the Small Business Development Center, helping us out. We got Innisfree Hotel sponsoring our pitch competitions to get people these ideas out there. And we got Gulf Power came on as a founding sponsor to kind of help us move forward. And we're just making all these partnerships to kind of grow what we're doing, grow and having more resources available for our startups. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see y'all next Thursday. Thanks, Vincent.
No problem, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.